Hey guys, welcome to Comic Book Wars, Episode 7, the comicbookspeculation.com podcast. I am obviously Jimmy Linguini, and I'm joined by a motley crew of people who will now introduce themselves, I guess.
I'm Nico, your weekend update correspondent for comicbookspeculation.com, and it is my honor and privilege to introduce our guest correspondent, none other than the Unpressable Defects, Mel V.
Well, hello. I was supposed to be doing laundry, but baby mama needed me. Gotta be here for baby mama. Hello, everybody.
Yeah, I don't get that.
What don't you get?
Laundry seems like a Saturday thing.
Oh, it's whenever you need laundry.
No.
I need clothes for Thursday. But that's neither here nor there. I am making my debut on Comic Book Wars and continue to be a podcast whore. You can find me on multiple other podcasts throughout my comic book career. So why not do Comic Book Wars? So thank you guys for having me. I'm sober, by the way, so this might be a train wreck.
I don't know. I feel like it would be the reverse of a train wreck if you're sober.
No, because we don't ever have train wrecks.
I don't think you ever rewatch when you get drunk on podcasts. But that's okay. I
just
appreciate that you're here, Mel, from Unpressable Defects podcast. What's going on this week in comics? I thought there was almost nothing going on, really.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at doing my spiel for the week on Comics Heating Up, and I was like, well, it just might not be a lot of good books. We were speaking before about you told me to stay away from this book, but I'm very bullish on the book. It would be the Red Sonja Vampirella meets Betty and Veronica 2. Can you tell me why you
think... Wait, issue 2?
Yeah.
Why? Why is there an issue 2? What?
Exactly.
What, you're buying the regular cover?
No, I'm thinking about, I want to get the 1 in 40, right? But they're still in stock in Midtown, by the way. I'm thinking to myself, who the fuck orders 40 of these books? Then on the minus side about it, it is Dynamite. Dynamite has the tendency to just make copies appear out of nowhere. But
somebody told me recently that if you order at ratio, you order the amount of copies, you can with Dynamite you can order as many copies as you want of that variant. I don't know if that's true, but I did hear that recently. I mean,
that's true at least some of the time.
When I did a Dynamite variant with them, I got a lot of variant covers, and a lot of them came damaged, and they gave me replacements. But I got a lot of variant covers when that was the Gwar one, and I mean, who wants variants for Gwar anyways? But I mean, that was fine. But I just think with Dynamite, they seem to overprint. They seem to be in cahoots with Midtown Comics, and they have dynamic forces. So if any of their variants get hot, they'll just sell the surplus on their website at a premium.
Yeah. So that sounds about right. But that didn't stop me from purchasing one. And like I said, they're still in stock in Midtown. So again, who the fuck orders 40 of these? And what surprised me the most is that there are none on eBay. Don't know why.
Yeah, and I'll tell you who doesn't order them. My local chain of 6 stores in my area did not order enough books between 6 stores to get a 1 in 40 variant. They're getting none. What Jimmy said with respect to the incentive variants being qualifier variants, my experience with that has been that sometimes they are qualifier variants and other times they are not. And that's really issue specific, but that may have changed, here within the last several years, because it's been a long time since I've ordered, just a truckload of issues from Dynamite in order to qualify for a particular book, a particular incentive cover.
Let me see what I had read about this particular book on Diamond.
Well, I think the one thing we're learning though about these books, these Archie and Betty and Veronica books, is that nobody orders them. So they all seem to have really low print runs, and people are chasing the covers now, and they seem to be really hard to find. Well, relatively hard to find.
Okay, so for every 40 copies ordered and received, covers A through E, any combo, retailers will qualify to order a Dan Parent Virgin cover at the net cost of $2 each. Yikes.
So there we go. It's an incentive, not a qualifier.
But yeah, no, variants usually cost $2. You still had to pay for them.
I didn't realize that there were 5 different covers.
Yeah, yeah. Then you got your black and whites, but there's also a Braga variant, which I think is better than the Dan Parent variant, and that's a 1-30 ratio, and it looks pretty fucking sweet.
Is it hard though to be better than the Dan Parent variant?
I mean, for this, if you ask me, this should have been the 1-40. Dan Parent should have been the 1-30. But like I said, hard to find. Dan Parent books always command a nice premium coming out the gate. So
you took the words out of my mouth, Mel. Can someone explain that to me? What is the appeal for so many collectors for Dan Parent variants? I mean, he seems to be the artist who's getting all the attention with respect to the Archie books. It's advertised in solicitations.
He just looks like old. It just looks like old Archie. Like it looks classic Archie. So I think he's the go-to Archie artist at this point. He's a nice guy too.
How long has he been doing Archie? Do you know?
Yeah, a long time.
Okay.
Like I would say at least 10 years, maybe 20. But I mean, I bought like Sharknado pages off him for the Archie Sharknado thing, and he was like a really nice guy.
Archie Sharknado.
I couldn't sell them for the life of me. I think I ended up selling them to Wes.
Why would Archie hang out with Sharknado?
Dude, Archie, Punisher, Archie, Kiss,
Predator.
Yeah, exactly. So who knows? The Sharknado one at least like was Sharknado.
There was what was it? NYC last year, and everybody's making a big stink over the Dan Parent Robotech variant. I'm looking them up now. They're going for about $8. Wow. Okay, makes sense.
That was the one that had the Art Germ cover, right? That sold well out the gate, and now sells for what? Nothing.
Probably.
You guys want to talk about the resurgence of, I would say the resurgence of modern good girl art. So like Wonder Woman, Catwoman, Adam Hughes books are stone cold, but all of a sudden, if it's Archie, Betty, Veronica, and they've got a bikini on the cover, the books are getting listed on eBay at $20-$30.
Running out of shit to spec on.
$100. I mean, there's one that I like, which is Archie 511. That's a legitimately like dirty joke. And that book is impossible to find. There was one that was listed on eBay for like 5 minutes, and I didn't pull the trigger on it. It was $125, and it sold. It's Archie with Betty and Veronica. They're both in bikinis, and it's like I forget exactly what the dialogue says, but it's something to the effect of like, my fortune said, or my horoscope said that I was going to be in the pink today, because they both have on pink bikinis. And I was like, well, okay. But $125, buy it now within 5 minutes of being listed. I mean, I was just shocked by that.
Yeah, I see it. Okay.
I mean, yeah, people like risque covers, and I don't know why Archie all of a sudden has gotten all hot, but people are noticing that there are risque covers, and they aren't like, the print runs aren't really there, because I whenever people try to sell Archie comics in stores usually tell them to kick rocks.
Oh, yeah. Because there was a kid that well, not a kid, an old guy. He knew I was in the comics. He said, I got a whole bunch of these Archie books. I never called him back.
Yeah, no, everybody has Archie books. Because when they grew up, they all got those stupid digest books. They're worth nothing. So usually stores don't buy Archies, and that's why I think they're going to be very hard to track down all these bikini covers. And I guess I think I said it a few weeks ago, are all the bikini covers going to start being worth money? And it looks like that's what's happening.
Well, that was when I spoke about that Archie joke book I was making a joke about, where he's looking at her ass, looking at Betty's ass while she's bowling. Never seen it take off, but I don't see many posted on eBay. I think it was Archie joke book 7. I was like, yeah, this won't fly in today's age.
Well, it's weird. It's the modern run from the 90s that has gotten all the attention from speculators. The books from the 70s and 80s, except for a few exceptions, the Pearl Necklace cover and some of the ones that are more well known, are the only ones that are getting attention. And I think it's because they're just, as Jimmy indicated, and you alluded to, they're just comparatively more rare. Who's ordering those books now? They're not going on newsstands, and retailers pass them up. And when they don't, they end up in dollar bins or under the register in a kids book section, getting mangled by children who are dropped off in the front of the store while their parents shop for books or talk to the owners or employees.
Kids off just why they big deals with the owners.
Accurate.
I don't have children. I sort of assume that they're just left by the wayside.
I mean, I imagine that's what happens.
Before we go any further,
Thanks,
I do want to let you guys know I do check out your podcast each and every week, and I think you guys are doing a tremendous job, and I think Sleepy John is definitely an asset to you, Jimmy, as well as Nico over here. So, good job.
Thanks, buddy.
Well, I'm glad that you slowed the podcast down, because apparently we had like a contest last week and we have a winner. I'll let Nico take over though, because I told him what to do.
Well, I don't remember who won, but you did.
Oh, I told you to write it down.
Yeah.
Now I gotta pull it back up. So yeah, last week we had a contest to win an Oblivion Song 1 pink signature variant. I can't remember who won. I think it was RJ Taylor.
No, it definitely wasn't. He won 2 weeks ago.
What?
Yeah, 3 weeks ago. Trust me. I remember sending him his book. That was not the name you said.
That wasn't the name I said.
I promise.
Well, you're right. I'm looking at something from 3 weeks ago, apparently. It was Ralph Cutler.
That's him.
Yeah, that's who won. I apologize.
Shout out to Ralph.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at this now, and it's looking at the outline from 3 weeks ago.
I feel like I should send RJ something. I feel bad.
Yeah, that is. But you sent him something already, right? So
I did.
Are we doing another contest though?
Yes, we are, and I'm very excited because there's been an increasingly large number of participants each and every week, and I think it's important that we overwhelm Jimmy with solicitations in his email. Remember that all of the entries are going to be sent to comicbookspeculation@gmail.com. You don't have to worry about writing it down. It'll be in the information at the bottom of the YouTube show.
No, it's comicbookwars@gmail.com. Comicbookwars@gmail.com. But this guy's not even prepared.
I'm definitely not
without
prepared.
Sleepy John, we apparently just fall apart.
That's very true.
We're hoping Mel could help us, but apparently
I'll-
not the glue we need.
I'm
But
a
no,
fan.
I'm hearing you.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan. Chiming in on the Comic Wars podcast. Thanks for having me.
Nevertheless, so what you have to do in order to enter the podcast's contest at comicbookwars@gmail.com is simply like and share this video on social media somewhere, either Instagram or Facebook or a MeWe group. Perhaps you just want to torture your friends and put it on your own personal page so that you can be ridiculed for your comic book collecting habits. It's your choice. Then you're going to screenshot that and send it to Jimmy. And again, we want to overwhelm Jimmy with as many emails as we can possibly
and
send him.
it's at comicbookwars@gmail.com.
That-
Sleepy John. I hope he's back next week. I know he has like some phone issues apparently. Can you believe
They're trying to
you guys-
better deal me.
No, but what did he do? He lost his phone, or somebody stole his phone, he said? What a loser.
He lost his phone and now he has a meeting.
Yeah, no, he always had his meeting. But, I mean, he lost his phone. What a
Wait.
loser.
Alcoholics Anonymous meeting.
I don't know. I wish he was here so he could tell us about how he lost his phone, but he's not.
You know, a lot of my friends should probably go to AA meetings, but they don't. But that's none of my business. The more important point is that this is the book that we're going to give out. The Sheriff of Babylon #1.
That's a sweet
Ooh.
giveaway.
Yeah. So here's the cool part, right? Got optioned. We've got none other than Tom King, everybody's favorite CIA field agent out there saving the United States from terrorism and other sorts of foreign enemies. Takes the time out of his superhero lifestyle to write a comic book. And he wrote this one, which may or may not be autobiographical. I have no idea. But it's a good read and a cool spec book. I'm hoping that the movie gets made and that he gets some major casting for it. He seems like a really cool guy. And personally, I prefer his non-superhero work to the work he does on superhero comics. So, other people differ in that regard. But this is, without a doubt, my favorite book of his.
Sweet. Very good.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's great. I forgot that Tom King wrote that, but it is optioned for like a movie or something, right?
Am I eligible to win that book?
No,
I'm a fan.
no. But I mean, if you want to, you can take a screenshot sharing this link at send it to comicbookwars@gmail.com. And that's good. What else is going on this week? So this week, I didn't really think there were any really big books coming out. I mean, Superman Year One comes out, and it's bigger than Batman Damned.
Really?
Yeah, there's apparently no like typical magazines, or there's no typical like bags and boards for them. So we'll see how much fun that is tomorrow.
That's awesome.
I'm
gonna bring my Life magazine bags and boards to the comic shop. People are just gonna stare at me when I walk.
I don't know if I don't like. That's what I thought. I assume life-size magazines were typical ones that you could find, but from what I was reading in the DC forum, a bunch of people were upset. Silver Surfer Black 1. The second print comes out this week,
Yes,
and the first print came out last week.
correct.
How?
Okay, and you said it's already selling for something.
8 to 10, apparently.
Yeah, and again, my local chain, who's got a half a dozen stores in the greater Pittsburgh area, got 0 copies at my local
still
shop.
available on Diamond.
I have no idea. They have
Oh.
20 copies of the first issue, first print on the stands. I didn't look to see if it was still available on Diamond. I'll probably pass on the book if we're going to be totally honest. I'd have picked it up, but I'm not going to go out of my way to order copies.
Let's see.
Interesting.
Let's take a look.
And then the other book that you have written down here is Star Wars TIE Fighter 3, the 1 in 25 variant.
Yeah, that's actually a Sleepy John special. He likes that ratio variant, at least to the extent that he thinks it's interesting enough for us to talk about.
Well, I did see a bunch of your Star Wars books were added to an app recently, and I thought that was pretty cool. But I didn't know what was up with that. A bunch of Star Wars books you talked about in your article.
Oh, good.
Silver Surfer Black, you can still the second print Deodato, you can add that to cart. So I'm assuming that's still in stock.
On what, at Midtown? Well, that means nothing. That just means Midtown has a bunch.
No, at Diamond. So that no,
Oh, word.
No, it's just back order, not in stock. I do terribly apologize. Notify me when in stock. So sorry, I do apologize.
That's weird though that the second print would come out this week.
It is.
Well, it had a real short window to order too. Final order cutoff on that book was almost instantaneous. I think most people missed it.
But what is that shit going on in his sword? Is that Carnage? Is it? Would
Yeah,
that
it's
be?
supposed to be a spoiler cover, so I think there's something going on with it. But it was just an interior page, right? So
Well, no, the interior art wasn't that damn good.
I don't know. That's weird then.
This cover was pretty damn good.
Yeah, it's got a lot of things going for it. The more you guys talk about it, the more I'm thinking about actually trying to order a couple copies.
Take a look at the cover. Can you pull up what is that Carnage on his sword? That's
No, whatever.
very interesting.
Well, I mean, it's selling for $8 to $10 if it's in back order. So, I mean, if you see it, I guess it's not the worst book to pick up. But again, how many stores are going to order that?
Yeah,
And if
interesting.
it's at back order, I mean, it's not going to go back in stock at Diamond. So, something to think about, I guess.
Very interesting.
I don't know. It says here that Hench Girl is in development.
Well,
I thought that was known, right, Mel? Wasn't Hench Girl in development forever?
Well, his game was always rumored, but never, and they really never took off. I reached out to Kristen for a comment, but she has yet to hit me back yet.
Yeah, she's
but,
not going to.
Probably not. But I'm happy. I'm happy for her if this, once this does get made, because she's a very nice person.
So how does that work, Mel? How does it work? Because Kristen, she's the writer and artist of Hench Girl.
Correct.
And it was originally published on Scout Comics, but then she made some deal where Dark Horse published a trade.
Yes. The question.
Because I got an email this morning from Scout saying that it was in development. So I was just curious why Scout was sending me an email if the property is with Dark Horse, or is it Dark Horse? Yeah, Dark Horse.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. I don't know if it's going to come out under that Dark Horse umbrella Netflix thing, or where it's going to be optioned at. The alert I got from Kick said it was just ready, being produced for TV. They didn't really go into details about it, but again, I reached out to Kristen for some answers on the topic, and maybe we'll have some tomorrow on Personal Defense.
nice.
Well, I mean, so yeah, it's supposed to be a television series. Yeah, that's all this email says.
You guys want to talk about the key books? I mean, that No Numbers self-published book is super expensive and super hard to find. I have no idea what the print run is, but it's got.
Yeah, I mean, I had a few of those at the beginning.
What, the self-published?
Yeah.
She told me that it was anywhere from 20 to 30 or something like that.
Oh, please.
This is what she told me. And she gave me, I got one in my box somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, didn't we all get copies of that? I'm pretty sure we all got copies of that book.
With the gray cover? With the,
yeah.
That's what she said. I know she said she gave me her last copy, so I still have it in the box. So I said I'm never going to sell it.
Well, yeah, so it was like a web comic first, and then it turned into a collected thing where she sold it at cons, and then Scout picked it up, and then the Scout one went into what, like 4 different printings or something, and all of those pretty much heated up.
And then
there's a 1 in 500, a 1 in 250, right, and then there's the regular cover, and I don't know what the 4th one is.
No. They were like, what do you mean 1 in 500? All the variants are irrelevant because they all came out after the first print, so they're all like glorified second or third prints.
Okay,
but like Heroes or something like that. Heroes or something or another. Or
what?
From some store, they had that logo in the corner there.
Yeah, sure. They're store variants, but all the store variants came out after issue 1 already came out, right? So, yeah, and then there was like 4 or 5 different printings of issue 1, and they all heated up. So, I don't really think the store variants come into play at all with that book. Well, with really any of the Scout books, but who knows?
Well, like I said, I'm very happy for once the series does get made. She's a very, very good girl. And I'm ready.
What does that even mean? She's a very good girl.
Well, she's a grown ass woman. I mean, she's a good person.
What?
She loves her mama, loves Jesus, and America too.
This is taking a turn.
So I gotta be drunk. I can't do this sober. This is not me. I'm all nice and shit.
You're the one taking the turn. So this week there's been a lot of like news surrounding Ironheart.
Really?
And Riri Williams.
Okay.
Because apparently, apparently, yeah, please.
All right. So, long story short, Eve Ewing is currently writing Ironheart, and essentially what happens, she's introducing Robert Downey Jr. at a Hollywood function, and during the course of Robert Downey Jr.'s remarks to the crowd at the Gene Siskel Film Center, he indicates Riri Williams, Ironheart, belongs in the MCU. And a ton of news outlets have picked up on that, and the question is whether or not it will get the attention of Kevin Feige and others at Disney. Is he kind of foreshadowing what's to come in the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe or on DC streaming? Is he going to be able to kind of like use his power and political capital to kind of push that issue? I mean, he is, for all intents and purposes, the heart and soul of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and without a doubt, the biggest star in those films. So for him to make that statement, I think there's at least a lot of eyes on Riri spec, and it seems to be a pretty good investment, at least to me, at this point in the game.
I mean, he didn't say it out of nowhere, though, right? Like, he was introduced at an event by the writer of Riri Williams.
Correct. Now, what the kind of backstory of that is, if you remember,
he might have just been like saying like a compliment that meant nothing.
It could have been. It could have absolutely been.
I mean, if he's still in the Marvel universe, doesn't he have like a bunch of non-disclosure agreements where he can't really talk about characters that they'd be using? So I think this
non-disclosure agreements would absolutely carry on after his contract's over.
I think if anything, this means that they're not doing anything with this character, and the only way that they would is if like the public gets behind it and starts making like petitions and stuff. But as of right now, I think there's really no, like, maybe hold on to the books. I don't know, but I wouldn't pay for these books or buy them for what they're going for.
I think they're focusing on his daughter being somewhat maybe the next incarnation of Iron Man in the MCU, because they would never introduce her in the movie, anyway. I don't think they're going to go the Riri route. Definitely don't think that's
like, I think she could show up eventually, but for him to say that, I think it means that it's not happening. Because again, if they were doing something with it, he wouldn't be able to talk about it.
I still would pick those books up, but not at premium prices. Just wait for them to come back down. Like you have on the
I
list.
mean, they're down.
What are they at now?
I mean,
Well, I guess they're about to see
for a minute.
They're about to see a surge, but I again, I wouldn't really be touching these books right now.
That Ironheart Hans variant. I mean, that
Is stone cold.
Yeah, what do you get it for about $20 now?
You can get slab 9/8 for so cheap it'll make your head spin.
I would pick one up, throw it in the box, and worry about it later.
You know, and again, those Women of Power variants are dirt cheap. You know, I think the market kind of settled on 7, not 9. Correct me if you think I'm wrong. Again, those are all books that are relatively inexpensive, and I think dealers are going to be willing to unload them. You've seen some of this attention in like online speculator circles, but your local comic shop doesn't give a shit about Ironheart spec at this point. So I think there's an opportunity there. Do I think that it's a project that's in development that he's like hinting at? No. Do I think that it's got potential, and do I think that this helps the potential for this character to be developed down the line? Absolutely. What I was saying before was that there was at least an earlier rumor that indicated that there was a screenplay that was not only drafted, commissioned and drafted, but that on one of these websites where various screenwriters share their screenplays, that it got a huge pop among other writers. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. To be perfectly honest, I've never been somebody who's like championed Ironheart spec, so I didn't really investigate it too much. I get the books, I sell the books. Will I be buying them now at current market value on eBay? No. But if I see them at shows, will I be trying to bundle them together and pay about half of the going rate for them? Maybe.
Wasn't there like a MIT commercial with Riri in it?
There was an MIT something, but it wasn't like, yeah, there wasn't. Yeah, it was like for their, yeah, there was. Because it was like, oh, this is what our students can do, right? Kind of. I don't remember that at all. But it never really went into anything.
Yeah,
all I know is like for him to be talking about it, if anything was happening, he wouldn't be able to talk about it. So I just don't feel it happening. But so those books are rebounding. Another book that I guess is starting to rebound is Y the Last Man #1.
No question about it. There was a sale of a raw copy on eBay today that had a corner bend for like $349. And I don't know if my flipper tools wasn't working well on my cell phone, because it was the best offer. And I looked at it and I was like, is this real life? Like I forgot to look on a desktop. But you know, I'll just to double check what the actual sold price was. But I was fundamentally shocked by that sale, and it was today, following the announcement that there was a different showrunner and that the TV show was going to happen. We've talked before about how.
So what was it? 2 or 3 weeks ago that they came out and said that everybody involved with the project had walked away, and everybody thought Y the Last Man was dead in the water.
I thought it was longer than that.
Yeah, it might have been like a month, maybe 2 months.
Yeah, like 2 months ago, I believe.
Maybe 2 months. Yeah. So, I mean, this is exciting news because everybody thought the project was dead. So, I mean, I'm sure there were a lot of people who dumped their books, and if you got them when the selling was good,
I did. I picked one up for $100. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, I mean that, and you're giving it away, right? That's the one you're giving away this week.
No, I listed it at $349 on eBay following the last sale of $349. It looks much better than the copy that I already sold.
Yeah, I feel like the book I feel like that's low for Y the Last Man. Like I feel like it was going for a lot more a few months ago. But who knows where it's going to go if the TV show actually gets finished and if we end up seeing it. That would be pretty great though.
I love Vaughn. I mean, I'm a Brian K. Vaughan homer. I love Saga. I think Y the Last Man was a great read from start to finish, and I've got a lot of faith in it as a TV show. I think FX does a hell of a job with TV generally, and I'm pretty excited about it. So I was really disappointed when the last exit of the showrunner happened, and I am pleasantly surprised by this news. I mean, I assumed the show was going to come back. I kind of hedged my bet on that because they had already cast the show. That being said, I don't know how much room there is to grow. I mean, the 9/8s are already super expensive. If you look back at the weekend update, I think I suggested that people try to pick up those books cheap, and I did.
That's my uncle. He told me to get them while they were cheap because he said the show was coming back out.
What? That's your uncle that told you to do that?
Brian, I'm Uncle Brian.
Your uncle Brian told you to
Hello?
buy what?
Brian K. Uncle Brian K. We call him BK.
Okay.
Brian K. Vaughn. It's my uncle.
Okay.
My man.
Very interesting.
I thought I was Uncle George. It's better than being
Like I
Uncle
didn't know where
Pop.
he was going with that. That wasn't even good. What's going on with Spawn though?
So apparently, McFarlane is coming back to do covers.
What, after 300?
Yeah, Spawn 301. He's gonna write and draw a bunch of variants again.
Well, he's been writing it, right? Remember when he was writing Spawn, but he used a pen name because he didn't want anybody to know he was writing Spawn?
Why would he do that?
I don't know. But now he's actually writing Spawn, right?
This is what the outline says.
That's what Dylon says? Okay. So now he's... Okay. Well, that's cool, I guess. Nico,
Yeah, I'm stoked.
any opinion on that? Okay, cool.
Well, the question for me is always this with Spawn: how long can this last? How long can the back issue surge last? Is it a good long-term play? Do I need to unload these books now? At what rate should I be selling them? It seems like every other week there's a new hot book from that run, and I'm not real familiar with a lot of these Spawn books at the time. They were published at a time when I wasn't collecting, and it's almost as if I want to go back and look at the covers because there's a ton of them I forget, and all of a sudden they're like $50 books. Plus, there's the resurgence of newsstands with those books that we've talked about all the time, that they always demand a premium. Particularly, I think it's like 137, which is the last newsstand issue. And my question is really like, is there an opportunity to do any sort of speculating on those books, or is it just a situation where I'm trying to buy undervalued or underpriced copies that I can either improve with a clean enough press or just flip, and kind of like take my profit and move on to the next play. But I like Spawn collectors. I think they're smart. I think they're smart about comics, and they spend money. So they're the kind of books that I like to buy and sell.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of Spawn 300s I've been selling in pre-sale, so I would assume that like there are a lot of fans there. So I'm not sure how long these books are going to stay around, but people seem to be buying lots of copies of Spawn 300. So what that will really mean if that book ends up being a $1 book, who knows? I mean, everybody thought Spider-Man 700 would be a $1 book, and look what happened to that. Everybody thought the same thing on the Amazing Spider-Man 1 right after that, and well, I guess that one was for a while, but now I guess what is the first Silk or something? So
Cindy Moon.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's not Silk. It's first Cindy Moon. So I don't know. Things are happening, but who knows for how long?
What was the per run on a AMS 700?
High.
Oh my
I
god!
remember. I don't know what it was,
Gargantuan.
but I remember they had like that one in 200 Ditko variant.
You think the Spawn 300 be higher?
Oh yeah. Well,
and it's a big price tag for that book too, so it's interesting.
what do you mean?
Isn't the cover price like $6.99 or something?
Well, that's actually less than Spider-Man 700 because Spider-Man 700 was $9.99,
Ooh.
right? I think. Am I wrong?
No, I
Maybe
think it was $7.99, but I don't know.
Well, still, that's more than the Spawn.
it's still
Whatever.
it's still a big price tag, right? And the difference being like it's a Marvel book compared to an Image book, and what does that really mean?
Well, it means
as
that
far as
like
the
one
distribution
publisher will overprint them, and one publisher will be a lot on their orders. So,
Well said.
Are they doing store variants for this as well? Or?
no, I don't think like Image is very anti-store variants, so they only do like ones for certain titles, and I don't think they would ever do one for Spawn.
Yeah, and can
Like,
I
they
ask
do
you guys
show
the
variant
question?
stuff, but that's it.
Can I ask you guys this question? Is there an opportunity for Walking Dead back issues like there once was for Spawn back issues, or is that a non sequitur?
Maybe in 15 or 20 years, and like if all the shows got canceled and we had like a dry period. But even with Spawn at the beginning, it got really hot, and then it took a while for it to become a dollar book. When I say a while, I mean like 5 to 10 years after release, right? It wasn't immediately a dollar book, and then it rose up again. So what's that?
You talking for Spawn #1?
Yeah, Spawn #1, and then the early run, which you could find cheap for a very long time, but it didn't happen immediately.
Right.
So I would say with Walking Dead, if everything died out on Walking Dead, and maybe then people sold their collections and you'd see them in stores, but I don't see it happening really.
No. One book, I mean, if they do a spinoff with Negan and Judith, I'm still bullish on that first appearance of Judith. Even though she dies in the book, I think people will start looking for that other than any other back issues. I can't.
I think we all agree that it's criminal that the TV show hasn't told the Carl Negan story with Judith and Negan.
Well, I think it's going to be one of the spin. I really do think it's going to be one of the spin-offs. Of course, it's just speculation at this point for me, but it would be great. Like, who wouldn't watch that? I mean,
it's definitely what the fans want. I mean, even the like part-time fans, not the non-fans like Jimmy, but the guys that are part-time fans like us, that aren't the diehard Walking Dead fans, but that would still enjoy good Walking Dead TV. We all want it.
Their relationship, their on-screen relationship is so damn good. It's like you have to. They should do this. It makes fucking sense. But if you look at the show, a lot of shit doesn't make sense. So who knows what the fuck.
Now, and what's interesting for me though is that Spawn, unlike The Walking Dead, is very much cover driven, right? So there's not a lot of opportunities for those books because there's not a lot of like outstanding cover art for the Walking Dead series. I mean, is there still an opportunity for those back issues to catch some heat? I don't know. I'm less than bullish on them.
What store has Walking Dead back issues?
It's a good point.
I think that book's been on fire for so long. You could only really find like the last 4 years of books. So that's what, 100 up. So you can't really find any good books for Walking Dead for flippability, in my opinion.
Give it some time.
No, I mean you need time if everything would die down, but I don't see anything happening. I mean, prices are going down on Walking Dead, but who knows if it's going to rebound or not. I mean, it comes in waves for that title for whatever reason. It's weird, but that's how it is.
I mean, 191 and 192, they were the highest. They did the best in the aftermarket since what book? 100?
I guess. What's going on with gold digging? What's this gold digging thing?
Yeah, okay. I can get behind that. That is my observations about the Golden Age market. So if you are even mildly interested in Golden Age books, this week all eyes were on Black Cat Mystery Comics number 50. There was a CGC 5.0 copy that was up in a live auction for 7 or 10 days. I can't remember. But it's all anybody was talking about. There had been a CGC 2.5 purple restored copy that ended I think on the 25th of May. It was at the end of last month, and it sold for about $3,200. And people were just kind of shocked by this number. Black Cat 50 all of a sudden catapulted heads above any other pre-code horror book. So here we've got a Blue Label 5.0, and the question is, well, just how high can it go? I mean, we're all well aware that even in the Golden Age market, restored books command far less than Blue Label books. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. What was surprising is that the 5.0 sold for $6,300. I think a lot of people were expecting a much higher number for that. And so this is interesting for me. My kind of takeaway from all of that, and again, this is just kind of me intuiting, is that we've got new money in the Golden Age market, particularly the pre-code horror market. People are what I describe as like cash rich from Variant comic flips, right? They're newer collectors to at least the Golden Age market, but savvy collectors when it comes to comics. And they've decided, I need to get these books now before I don't have an opportunity to get them. So they cobble together, you know, 2, 3, $4,000 to get copies of these books that, you know, there may be like 25, 50 copies on the census. And they're coming in at an entry level and, you know, paying a ton of money for low grade copies that are now getting substantially more than even, you know, proportionally than mid grade copies or higher grade copies from, you know, guys that are large retailers or collectors who've been at this for a longer time that just have more expendable income or more money to move around and play with. That's kind of my takeaway on the Black Cat 50, or at least on the pre-code market generally. The only other pre-code book that was kind of interesting to me this last week was Eerie #1. That book is pretty famous because it is arguably the first pre-code horror comic book. And it sold for $1,400. It was a CGC 5.0 copy. Jimmy?
It's the pre-code what? It's the first pre-code horror book?
I think so. Isn't it?
No.
Eerie 1?
What? What? No. There were horror books before Eerie 1. There might not have been. They might not have been published by EC, but there were horror books before EC was around. Horror, like,
yeah, but that's the first Eerie horror book.
Yeah. Okay. I'm listening.
I don't know. Yeah. Well, anyway, so that was kind of a book to kind of like pay attention to and see. The other big Golden Age sale that caught my eye was a Tim Holt #50. And you know, thank you,
What a
John
name.
Z. Thank you, John Z from the Tales from the Flip Side podcast for putting me on this book, putting it on my radar. I had no idea what the hell it was. It is a book that allegedly inspired the Son of Sam killer. And it's got a woman in some kind of weird tutu and a bound cowboy who I assume is Tim Holt. But because of that relationship with the Son of Sam killer, people have been buying this book and they've been paying top dollar for it. So
can you go to
it went for $759.
What exactly was the relationship between this and the Son of Sam killer?
Yeah, he just had the book in his apartment, and then they linked it to that. I don't know. There were like these two kids in Canada who apparently like really read a lot of crime comics, and then they saw I think they started throwing bottles off, or no, I think they saw that they were playing with guns in the comic book. So then they decided to play with guns, and they started playing with guns by a highway, and it shot some guy in his car, and he died. And then they banned crime comic books in Canada, and that's law is still enacted. So and this was in the 30s. So back then things were crazy.
Wow.
But yeah.
I'm very interested in this Tim Holt. To my research of this Tim Holt.
I mean, is there did the Son of Sam killer say, "Oh yeah, I did this comic book"? No, but they found it and they said, "Oh, this happened." Just like when the one lady from Mama and the Papas died, they found a ham sandwich next to her bed. So all the news reported that she died eating a ham sandwich. I mean, just because it was there doesn't make the connection. You know what I mean? So, but again, that book is notoriously known for that.
That's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah,
it's a cool cover too.
Yeah, I never really gravitated towards that book because I just hear Tim Holt, and it's a fun name.
Yeah, so there's one other Tim Holt book that's a big deal. I can't remember the number though or why.
What's the title where the guy's holding the log, or the kids?
Oh,
the kids holding the log. Oh yeah, Rifleman.
The Rifleman. I think it's Rifleman 30.
I don't know. That's a good book too, though.
Yeah, that one. There's a copy of that I think sold last week, for just an astonishing number. Did you guys see the first appearance of Mouse in the magazine that sold for like $100 on eBay?
What do you mean? What?
Remember the comic book Mouse, how it appeared in like a magazine size book?
What do you mean, Raw?
I think is that the name of the
magazine? And the magazine's like this big. It's like
yeah,
like 3 feet tall. Yeah,
Thank you.
I have a number 1 somewhere, but I ripped the mouse out to get it CGC'd and it didn't happen. But go on, I'm listening.
Suffice to say, a copy of that sold for like $100 on eBay.
That was actually cheap. They usually go for a lot more than that.
Right. I was shocked that it went for that cheap.
Although I think I only paid like $30 for the one I have, but that's not the first appearance of Mouse. It's just the first appearance, like the first number 1 in the magazine. And I think it might be like the most largely, aside from Killing Joke, it's probably the most the largest printed graphic novel of all time, aside from Killing Joke.
Nice.
So I don't know. That is a good book to be buying, like raw ones, because it is. But so is that. I think it's Funny Animals 1. That's the first appearance of Mouse from Kitchen Sink Comics. Like I can't remember if it's that issue or not, but I don't know. That's always Art Spiegelman stuff is always good to get. And he also created the Garbage Pail Kids, right? No, not Garbage Pail Kids. He created one of the cards. I don't know. Maybe it was Garbage Pail Kids. Yeah.
This brings us to it's a real nice segue into the Facebook questions as Jimmy throws out picks.
That's true.
So let's see here. I might screw up which one's what. All right. Patrick, I'm glad I'm not going to say your last name because I can't spell it, but it's a good Italian last name. My grandmother would be happy.
You're bad at this. Okay, what does it say?
He says, everybody knows Hulk 181's a key, but let's talk about those minor keys that are easily obtainable. Thor 337s were everywhere 2 months ago at a decent price. Then one unconfirmed rumor later, bam, and gone and at triple value. What are some of our picks for books that could pop in 2019?
That there was an alert about Eternals 5. That book is I think it's like about a $60 book. They had something to do with the blonde Black Widow.
Oh, that sucks. I saw like 50 copies of that today.
That's what you mean Inhumans number 5.
I am sorry, Inhumans.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, I saw that Bleeding Cool picked up on that too, but that book's been hot for a minute.
Yeah, but it was like $60. Like, wow. Okay.
Well, I don't know about all that. There's copies for like $20-$30 on eBay.
I guess what he's asking is like
the
books
worst
that
spec ever.
I guess he's asking like books that are selling well now, but that we think are going to have room to grow. Right? That's what the question is. And I'm not sure. I mean, Niobe number 1,
right?
Niobe number 1, I think right now has a lot of room to grow just based on how it was selling originally.
Mm-hmm.
I think that book's probably going to come back up, and she is being introduced in Action Comics, so. I mean, I think that's an obtainable key.
You said Niobe. You mean Naomi.
Yeah, Naomi. You're right. I'm sorry. I wouldn't buy Niobe if you paid me. But yeah, I don't know. I think there are other books. I should have thought about this through this. Another book that is really down in value right now is the Marvel Super Stories. The first appearance of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Is it? I don't remember what book that is, but first appearance of the Guardians of the Galaxy is down. Is really low right now too. So
what's First Blade going for these days? Is it down?
No, that book I think is up because they keep every other week they seem to be putting out news about it. So
it's also always been an expensive book. I mean, the kind of books I like on stuff like this, I think, are things like the first appearance of Moon Girl.
Yeah.
Right. And the reason I like that is because there is a high probability that will actually be made into a television show of some kind, whether or not it's animated or live action, who knows. The first Devil Dinosaur one, the Kirby book, I like that too. If you remember, Lawrence Fishburne's production company indicated that they were going to get behind that character and do something with it. There's been a ton of downtime in between that press release and now, and those books are stone cold. I mean, those are the kind of things that I sort of look for. It's like, what can I always get out of? Because I can divest my investment, but the books, because they're just at a price where they're not going to go any lower.
I wouldn't sleep on first appearance of Man-Thing. No, I'm serious.
No, yeah, no, I know. I was just thinking of Giant Size Man thing earlier, but I didn't want to say anything.
Yeah, or First Squirrel Girl is a good one.
I mean, yeah, that book has really gone up, and then it seems to still be going up. But I don't know, when you go from $1 to $40 in like overnight, because that book really shot up. So who knows if that book has staying power? But who knows? What other questions were there from Facebook?
Okay.
Was that it?
Well, no, there's a ton. Best practices for speculation. What kind of ROI makes a flip worth it? Flip or flop?
What's an
return
ROI?
on investment? Flip or flop? Talk about speculations that made bank or were complete busts and why. What to look for when speculating on a comic, i.e. first appearance, key storyline event, rare variant, etc. There's just a ton of specific questions there, but let's talk about that first one first, which is best practices for speculation, return on investment. I am a 3x kind of guy. I want to get between 3 and 10 times my investment on books that I pay more than $1 for. If I'm pulling stuff out of a dollar bin, you know what I mean? I'm looking at like not letting them go for less than $20, or they get thrown back in my own dollar bins. And you know, I don't think that for whatever reason, and we've talked about this maybe on some of the prior podcasts, but over the course of the last 10, 15 years, there's been no interest whatsoever in key storylines or events. Those days are gone. I don't know if it's because people don't read comics or what exactly has happened there. But if you look, for example, at the death of Gwen Stacy, that used to be like the pinnacle book for the 25-year span of Spider-Man. And now those books they're dirt cheap. So now will that come back in 10, 15, 20 years? You know, books that have like these historical significance as far as like the storyline of a character goes. I don't know. I hope so. It'd be cool. It means a lot to me, but it doesn't mean a lot of dollars.
It depends on what Marvel and if Marvel keeps rebooting shit. I mean, you have good storylines, and all of a sudden they reboot the shit. They appear in another universe. Nobody cares down the line. So you know that's why I was hunting rare variants, the lower print run variants. But even nowadays, that's getting boring and played out. So I don't know. Like when it comes to speculation, it's like I said earlier, people are running out of stuff to spec on. This is why you see the bikini book going up in value, and then once that gets the life sucked out of it, what's next?
Well, I mean, nobody's making the bikini book sell, right? Like nobody's like pushing the market that way. So I don't know if it's that they're left, like there's nothing left to spec on. I guess that's just the way the market's going right now.
I mean, I remember when
I don't think the thing is, I don't know, have there been YouTube videos, or Key Collector hasn't made a list or anything. So I don't know why these books are jumping, but they seem to be jumping organically.
Together, it's a wrap though. As soon as people can use the Key Collector app to go dig through bins.
Sure, but I mean, they seem to be going up organically. And I think that's why it's not people falling, like having nothing else to spec on, because it seems that there's an audience there, and there doesn't seem to be people pushing these books.
Right.
That makes sense. So yeah, I don't remember what the question was, but I'm not sure.
Flip or flop. Let's talk about speculations that were a bang or a bust.
Well, I mean, Oblivion Song obviously is we're learning how great that was. I mean, those books are moving, right? So
Rick and Morty 1 in 50 that came out a couple of weeks ago.
Bang bang. What about some of your busts, boys? DCB covers were the bust of 2018 for me.
When I always tell the story, when I first started, I bought about 30 itty bitty bunnies because they were selling for like $10. I was gonna flip them quick, and I hate that fucking book. And I have a box full of the crap.
What do you mean, Stabity Bunny?
No. Itty bitty bunny. I think it's from IDW.
Okay.
From Action Lab.
Action Lab. My apologies, IDW. I'm gonna put that crap on you. That book.
Well, yeah, it was from like some Australian creator or something, and they said he had like a bunch of stuff going on, and they made it seem like it could be optioned or something. And this was right after Zombie Tramp, right? So It seemed like Action Lab knew what they were doing, but no.
I took a fucking hit on that.
Yeah, I haven't speculated on Action Lab since then, except of course for Dollface and things that like are established.
Another
through
one.
Dan Mendoza, I guess.
Another one. Holy fuck! I think that was from Action Lab too.
Yeah, it was, and they had a Dan Mendoza cover. I remember getting copies signed, and he's like, "They probably didn't sell any of these." I'm like, "Yeah."
I read that book. I was like, "This is pretty bad. Pretty goddamn bad."
So again, they're talking about undervalued speculation options, and this guy's not even asking for specific books. He's just more like looking for theoretical situations or under the. And I think what he's really saying is like, well, how do you determine something is an undervalued book, right? And it's really for me kind of like the things that I'm looking for are characters that have television or film potential. I mean, that's just the easiest one. Or are fixtures within the canon of a universe, right? So I don't necessarily see a lot of future for, like some sort of like quick on-screen development for a character like Guy Gardner. That being said, he's a fixture within the DC continuity. So grabbing his high grade copies of his first appearance just makes sense because people haven't gravitated to them. They will at some point. That book's going to spike. But for me, like it's a lot of kind of like trying to figure out how much time I want to have my money wrapped up in a particular book or books. Because if there's an opportunity to flip the books and make a little bit of money and move on to another investment as opposed to being stuck with a book, over the course of like months, years, then it's a lost opportunity for me.
I mean, also like you said earlier, if people go back and like read books, there's specking. If you read books, you had Gary Nassau. Yeah. Gary Nassau on one of your previous podcasts. I mean, he breaks shit down great, But if you go back, like Null is a hot character now. If you go back and put pieces together when you read the books, you can find a whole bunch of spec stuff out there. I don't do it as much as I should, but there is stuff there, and that's how you create spec.
Yeah, I kind of like the Thor book as opposed to the Venom 3, the Thor 6, just because there's like 14 different covers.
With the God of the Jason
Aaron? Like Thor, it's like Thor God of Thunder 6 is kind of like an earlier Null. And the reason I kind of like that book as opposed to Venom 3 is just because there's so many different variants for Venom 3. There's like the 3 printings, an incentive variant, San Diego Comic-Con PGX, plus the regular cover. You know what I mean?
That Thor God of War had that Acuna variant that was hot, that was smoking for a while. That's a good buy right now.
Maybe.
In a 9.8, I think 9.8s we're going for 300. I think probably get one now for around in the hundreds somewhere. I got to check.
Well, and so do you guys scope out high-end ratio variants that have fallen off people's radar?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not really for me. I mean, I guess Mel does. Mel, what ones are on your radar that aren't on anybody else's?
Like I spoke about that I'm still bullish on that Spider-Gwen 16. I'm laugh all you want. When that event happens in that movie, I believe that book is gonna shoot back up.
It's just a cover. Just if it happens, I don't know. This is so stupid.
But this is what high ratio variants are. They're just covers.
No. I just think it's terrible spec. Oh, I'm waiting for that to happen in a movie. That's what's going to drive this book up is when it happens in the movie. It's
about the Losh variant? What about the Losh variant? You guys like that one?
It's a great cover. Nothing happens in the book, but again, it's a great cover.
Yeah, I mean, there's some nice variants out there.
Here's kind of the issue with that particular book. It hasn't appreciated in value like all of the other ratio variants, which is kind of shocking to me.
But has it lost value?
Hasn't lost value. I mean, it was down. Remember, it was like at $8.50. I think was my buy-in, which made me happy.
The book went from like a $50 book to a $200 to $300 book kind of overnight. So, and I don't think that was organic. I think there was definitely people pushing that. So, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I just like that book. I think it's gorgeous.
But I
It's
don't see
an
that.
Adam Hughes
I don't
cover.
see that book coming down in value anytime soon. So.
Right, and here's kind of the other issue. There are certain players in the game, like Adam Hughes, for example. All of his Wonder Woman and Catwoman books are stone cold. You can get them now at like bargain basement prices. I don't know what the future of those particular books are, but because they're at bargain basement prices, I put together a couple short boxes of them. And
2 years ago at NYCC, it was in October. That's when they kind of peaked those Hughes Catwoman covers.
Yeah, he's
Well,
kind of he's been on a downward spiral, but I mean, Archer,
his older stuff's hot.
People have been going towards Middleton. There seems to be other artists that people seem to be jumping towards, aside from Hughes now. So, who knows?
Who's the hottest artist out right now? Not named. Well, the hottest.
Scott Campbell.
No, the hottest.
Yeah, it's probably still Campbell.
Well, what I'm talking about, like the hottest artist that people might not know about, like on a Jetty Frizon level.
Hack.
Yeah.
No.
I like Hack. David Mack is underrated. I love Mack shit.
Yeah. I mean, with Mac, stuff starts to look the same after the while. I can't think of any underrated artists right now. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think that's all we had though for this week. We didn't have anything else, eh?
Thanks for having me.
Nobody say anything. Well, no, Mel, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it on the comicbookspeculation.com podcast. This is what, episode 7? Episode 8 will be next week.
Hey guys, Jimmy, can we do one last question, because Mel explains this all the time, and that way we'll be done with all of the
it would have been
questions.
easier if you said that, like, I don't know, before I started saying my spiel. But yeah, sure, go for it.
I enjoy interrupting you a little bit. It makes me happy.
Yeah, I noticed.
Anyway, so Mel, here's the question: when a brand new unknown comic is first speculated on, how many weeks or months, or what's the average does that speculation last? I remember many books that got some spotlight coverage, and then after a year or so, you don't hear anything about them. I remember a book a few years back from Overground called Graduate that I bought a few copies.
Wait, are you reading right now?
Yeah, I'm clearly reading right now.
Don't read the question. Don't read the question.
Here, let me ask you.
That's what you mean. That's the easy, that's the problem with these Facebook questions. You're saying them verbatim. Come on, you got to sum that up.
I'll sum it up.
Okay, Mel, what is the window for speculation? Mel, what is the speculation window that you see? Right? Is that not what it is? Mel, what do you think about a speculation
trajectory?
What is this whole trajectory? What is this window that the thing's in? It's like a graph
I like
chart,
that Jimmy's doing the hand thing.
I don't know what else. We're a visual podcast. We have screens for some reason.
If it's an independent book, I'd say 2 weeks tops. We live in a world now where Janet Jackson's song is the best. What have you done for me lately?
No, it's not. It's the nasty girl, right? Nasty. No, it's not a nasty one. Okay.
It's what have you done for me lately? Like these books, they were $10 to $15 books on that Wednesday. They $2 or $3 now. I got a box full of them. I can prove that theory correct. That's a 2 weeks. If it's a good storyline, like First Null, that was hot for like a month. Then it went down. Now it's going back up. Those, like I said, books with key storylines and they have the good characters that come back will last long, and then your average independent book. And I like independent books, but they just don't sustain it. Like it goes from it comes out Wednesday, lasts about 2 or 3 weeks, dies down. You wait for a TV or movie announcement. It'll shoot back up about 2 weeks, and then it'll just sit in limbo. And that's it.
I like that I got Mel doing the hand thing too.
We're a visual podcast.
We're a visual podcast. We got to do see, this is the box of the window. It's kind of a window. The books go up and then goes down. It's within that window. I'm glad you described it. But yeah, I guess that's all we had for this week. Right? You're going to ask me another question halfway through this?
No, I want to apologize for our poor answers to the wonderful questions. And thank everybody for listening.
Fair. Yeah, thanks for joining us on the comicbookspeculation.com podcast. Thank you, Mel, for joining us. And we got some Rob Liefeld shout out this week or something I heard about that you guys should check out. I don't know where you check
Unpressable
that out.
Defects is the
Anyways,
greatest
thanks again.
podcast in the world. I guess Comic Book Wars is good too.
Yeah, no, you're just mad. We're still live. Okay, we'll talk to you guys later.
$30.
Bye now. No, we're still live. Look at, and again,
I
thanks,
know we're
Mel.
live.
Thanks, Mel, for joining us. Okay, bye now.
I gotta